Once upon a time, there was this ever-after high book called A Wonderlandiful World by Shannon Hale. Books also by Shannon Hale, the storybook of legends and the unfairest of them all. For Teresa, Ellie, and Carol Wondernieces, Argo. A Wonderlandiful World. Prologue of Doom. How many years had the great Jabberwock spent trapped in the tiny glass of Unicorn prison? It has been impossible to keep track in this shimmery, drowsy darkness, with no sun setting, no clock ticking, no sheep counting after the foolish, slivy little creatures had accidentally cracked open the Unicorn. The Jabberwock had fled its prison. It curled in the mountains and intended to rest for ages. Sleep soaked power back into fearsome bones. But then the sound of the breaking glass, not just any glass, and not another unicorn, no, somewhere where an immensely powerful magic mirror shattered. The sound exploded through all of Ever After, fast and sharp like arrows, deep in the dark mountains. The sound struck the sleeping beast, nudged it, woke it. Awake far too early for its liking, the Jabberwock screamed in its disapproval. The trees around it shook, bent and splintered, but they shook, bent and splintered in completely normal way. Everything here was far too sensical, wrong, flat, right side out, and that was infuriating. Ever After would know its rage. It would punish the stones, the sea, and the earth for not being as wonderlandiful as its homeland. But first, the Jabberwock would eat. It was very, very hungry. Chapter 1: When Doubt, Shout. When in doubt, shout. Lizzie Hearts, the Princess of Hearts, daughter of the Queen of Hearts, heir to the throne of Wonderland, Card Castle, captain of the Ever After High croquet team, and hedgehog enthusiast, was holding a knife. It wasn't sharp, barely sharp enough to shout, "Off with you, butter!" Well, perhaps sharp enough to use on a very small man made entirely out of butter. Yes, she could use this knife to behead a tiny butter man, if such thing existed. "Don't tell me you're packing a butter knife," Duchess Swan said as she practiced her twirls around their dorm room. Duchess, daughter of the Swan Queen, was usually dancing. Even while sleeping, she kept her toys pointed. Lizzie stuffed the butter knife into her red and gold checkered skirt pocket and felt her cheeks turn a royal flush red. In Wonderland, having a butter knife at all times made sense. After all, one never knew when they might come upon some butter. But what made sense in Wonderland really made sense in Ever After. Lizzie often felt confused as an egg full of bats. "It's a field trip for fairy's sake," Duchess was saying while doing pliés, while stuffing a silver tiara and a feathery gown in her backpack. "Don't you know how to pack for a field trip?" Duchess added, a pair of black satin ballet slippers. "Why, when Duchess continued to talk, but Lizzie stopped listening. Her mother taught her to not listen, which was a very important thing. Lizzie's hands were still deep in skirt pocket, and she closed it around her treasured deck of her mother had given it to her before Lizzie escaped from Wonderland with Kitty Cheshire, Madeline Hatter, and a few others. She slid one card out of the deck and read the note scrawled by her mother's hand. Worms speak, indeed they do, but not such as me and you. All they ever say is mud, mud, food, so you need to not listen good. Practice not listening to worms today, and by worms I mean people. On each card in the deck of her mother had written advice for Lizzie. She designed to make a better queen, often combined with information about how to work the world or how it should work. Even though she had been in Ever After High for some time, Lizzie felt incapable of understanding all the strange and infuriatingly reasonable ways of school, such as one packed for a field trip. "A feather, can you believe that?" Duchess was saying while brushing her long black, white, and lavender hair. Lizzie raised her hand for silence, but which did not come, and it wasn't even white. Not really. It was painted like some kind of... "Off with her head," Lizzie shouted. Duchess paused, mouth open. "Explain this field trip," Lizzie demanded. Another one of her cards advised, "Never, ever, 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 ever admit there's something you don't know, because you know everything. You may just forgotten a piece of everything. Also, don't tell anyone you forgot." So Lizzie added, "Not that I don't remember exactly where Headmaster Grimm said where we're going and why. I just want to see if you know. Naturally, it's not just a field trip. It's not just a trip to a field, right?" Duchess sighed. This is a winds trip. Each year we visit one of the four winds. The west wind was last year, remember? Unfortunately, Lizzie remembered that trip to the beach very well. She hadn't minded the west wind himself, even though he kept calling everyone dude, and he hadn't looked like the actual wind at all. Just a man in a swim trunks with trunks whose blue hair was constantly flapping in the wind with a wind no one else could feel. But the after part was the fun part. Still gave Lizzie shudders. If you want to listen to the rest of this book, please subscribe and watch part 2. Thank you for watching and listening. And if you want to, you can go buy these books at your Scholastic Book Fair. This is where I got the book. Thank you and bye. Please subscribe and like this video.